NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks have been eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said it. The New York Knicks have been eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks. They lost 103-89 as the New York Knicks just did not have answers. They had no answers for the Atlanta Hawks. Every time the Knicks went on a mini run, the Hawks would answer right back. They knocked down a three. Bogdanovich get a pull-up jump shot. Trae Young, a floater in the lane. Clint Capella, an offensive rebound. I don't even want to talk about rebounding for real. Because the Knicks did a terrible job corralling rebounds in a game that you needed, a game of desperation. Flat-out desperation. The Knicks lost the 50-50 battle. They let the Atlanta Hawks get loose balls. They let the Atlanta Hawks get offensive rebounds. So we deserve to go home. We deserve to go home. We had no answers. We couldn't make adjustments. We couldn't find a shot. We couldn't find a groove. We never, ever, ever got comfortable in this series. So we're done. The New York Knicks are done, ladies and gentlemen. The Atlanta Hawks, of course, they were led by none other than Trae Young, 36 points. He had 9 assists, 4 rebounds. Clint Capella, the guy who said he was sending the Knicks home on vacation on the Madison Square Garden floor, he had 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 blocks. DeAndre Hunter, he had 15 points and 3 rebounds. John Collins, he had 13 points and 7 rebounds. Kevin Huerter had 8 points, 3 rebounds. For the New York Knicks, 89 points in a playoff game, ladies and gentlemen. 89 points in a playoff game. Julius Randle had 23 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. He only shot 38% from the field and 33% from the three-point line. R.J. Barrett had 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Derrick Rose had 6 points, 5 assists. Alec Burks had 12 points. Emmanuel quickly had 11 points, 2 steals. Reggie Bullock had 12 points, 2 assists, and 1 block. And the Knicks, Taj Gibson had 4 points and 10 rebounds. But the Knicks are on their way. I don't know where they're on the way to. They're heading back to the locker room right now, you know, getting ready to do the post-game show and then do whatever they're going to do. The Knicks shot 37.8% from the field. They shot 40% from the three-point line, but it just wasn't enough. They just didn't do enough, didn't have enough. And in the middle of that third quarter, I could see it in the body language. I could see it in the energy. They tried to come out, but every time Atlanta responded, it took the Knicks down a notch, another notch, and another notch. And pretty soon, the Knicks realized, the fans realized, it just wasn't going to happen. The Knicks were not going to win this series. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Knicks have been eliminated and the offseason begins. It is time to start talking about how we retool for next season. But we'll go ahead and break this down and, get our feelings out and all that kind of stuff. Let's go ahead and get to our panel over here. Talk about this playoff series. What went right? Nothing much really went right. What went wrong? A whole lot went wrong. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it, man. Steph, good evening to you. How are you feeling?
Thank you, Sam. I get to go first.
Yeah, ladies first.
First, shout out to the chat. I'm not in the chat tonight. I don't have it tonight. I'm like really focused on the panel. Shout out to you, Sam. Like, this is basically the end of my first regular season and playoffs with MBK. So I appreciate you, Sam. I appreciate my fellow panelists. And I'm going to hang around. But
I had some roses for you, just to
okay, I appreciate it. We get together for that family reunion. You can bring it.
Yeah.
So, listen, people are patting themselves on the back, in my opinion, and saying, "Oh, it's okay. Atlanta was more talented anyway. It's okay, that the Knicks won, that the Knicks lost." It's not. Like, to me, it's just not, especially the way that they lose in 7 games, they lose in 6 games, that's a difference. The way they're losing, 80 points, I think, tonight.
89.
89. I don't think we got 100 in the last one. Listen, Atlanta was able to do what New York wasn't. Their best player showed up, and their coach made the adjustments that needed to be made in game and between game. Randall was missing in action. I'm not saying his effort wasn't there. His effort was there. But his level of play was not there. And Tibbs did not make, in my opinion, noticeable adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he made adjustments. I just didn't see them.
He didn't.
He didn't make noticeable in-game adjustments and between-game adjustments. And whenever you do that, you put your team at a disadvantage.
Yep.
And to me, to talk about how much better Atlanta is, to me, is a cop-out and a cover-up for Randall and this coaching staff. Now, I'm not taking anything from them. Trey showed up. Their coaching staff did the job. I'm not taking anything from them. But in terms of what we did, to me, it's just a mess. You don't lose 4-1. You lose 4-1 to Denver, to the Lakers, to Portland, to the Clippers. You do not lose 4-1 to Atlanta. More talent or not, you don't lose 4-1 to Atlanta. I got a lot more to say, but I'm going to pass the mic, and I'm sure it'll come around again.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Wow, where do I begin? I just hate to keep reiterating this, but to me, it failed playoff series. This was a failure of a playoff series. Mm-hmm. You're 12th seed in the Eastern Conference. You fought hard all season, the top defense in the league. And you have most improved player, supposed to be an all NBA player, and they didn't show up. That defense wasn't there. The most improved player wasn't there. The potential coach of the year, his adjustments weren't there. So if you do all that stuff during the regular season, and then to come out in the first round, and you talk about expectations, the Knicks weren't supposed to do this, they weren't supposed to do that. But those have changed. And coming into this playoff series, the Knicks were supposed to go 6 and 7 games with the Atlanta Hawks, but that didn't happen. So, the season, it was a really good season overall, but talk to me about that tomorrow. Tonight, I am not feeling it. And I just want to say for all those people out there that always say, well, the Knicks are good the way they are, they're good the way they are. No, they're not. We need to go out and get some players. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get better and going to improve the roster. That's why it was important to at least try to be aggressive during the trade deadline and things of that nature. But I'm sure we're going to cover all of that, but that's all I'm going to say right now.
Cornerstone.
Salute to the chat. Salute to my brothers and sister on the panel here. Earlier today when we did the pregame, I was coming at Josh about how I would clap for them if they lost. I think Andy had brought it up. Well, I want to first apologize and say you were totally right, because the way we played tonight was embarrassing, was disgraceful, and was not a reflection of what we did all season. I think we got outclassed, we got outplayed, and we got outcoached as well. And I'm just sick to my stomach right now. I really am, because I expected a little bit of a better effort from these guys than what I saw tonight in these last, this whole series. We only had one good half of a game in this series. The game that we won. We won it in the second half because those guys were missing shots. I didn't want to believe that, but real is real, and that was real right there. And they just did anything they wanted. And again, if you're a player on that team that is expected to be there next year, you better do a lot of soul searching this summer, because now it is, it's going to be a long summer, and that goes for the coach as well. And that's all I got to say.
Well, I don't think it came down to effort.
I think it did.
I don't think it came down to effort.
Think it
the
did,
guys were playing hard.
I think it did.
No. See, I disagree. I think they were playing hard. They didn't have the answers. The coaching staff didn't give them the answers. They were battling and fighting and trying, but they didn't have the answers to win the series. There's a difference to me between effort and not having the answers. They were playing hard. That's never been an issue with this team. They didn't have the answers.
Well, would you say they weren't playing smart? Would you say they weren't playing smart then?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when they started to feel that pressure, they didn't play smart. Randall took some terrible shots.
And made some terrible passes, too.
Made some terrible passes. That's what happens, though, when you begin to get outplayed and outcoached. You feel that pressure, and you don't know what else to do. You start to force. You start to try to take things in your own hands. Right? That's what happens. I don't think it came down to effort. I think it came down to the inability to match the Atlanta Hawks. From a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint, their guys showed up, ours did not.
Yes, sir.
And I think it can really come down to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Because if Randall shows up, Sim, if Tibbs makes a few adjustments, we're having a different conversation right now.
Yep. I totally agree. It was maddening because I was saying to myself while I'm watching this game, I'm like, are we really doing what we're doing right now against this team? Really?
It was the same thing. Like, I expected when it came in today, from the first tip, we're going to see something different in terms of a new wrinkle on offense, a new wrinkle.
Nothing.
Yeah.
At all.
Let me get to a phone call, man. Caller, you're live. Talk to me. What's your name? Where you from?
Hey, Sam. It's Andre from Orlando. I think I called you back early when the season started, and I had mentioned that I saw this team getting about 28, 29 wins just off of coaching alone. And honestly, I would have preferred if we had that, got into the play-in, lost instead of going out like this. But as it stands, everybody in the panel was right. Got out coached, they got out classed, and Tibbs didn't make the necessary adjustments. So I just look ahead. I agree with Josh. I'm not going to sit there and say they had a great year, because you go out like that and let this team effectively dance on your grave. It's a bad taste in my mouth, but it is what it is. I will say one thing that Josh mentioned about being aggressive at the trade deadline. A lot of the moves the Knicks could have made would have required some picks, and I don't think Leon wanted to leverage assets for that. But I think going forward, it comes down to this. You talk about players. Randall can't have the ball in his hands 15 seconds on the clock. I personally tell Randall, look, I'll give you 85 for 4. That starts after next season. If you don't want it, we'll take the 1 year, see where we go from there. I wouldn't even give him max extension just because of some of the stuff that you saw here. I go out, I throw a little. I think the Knicks would get Lonzo Ball for $24 million. I doubt the Pels actually go for that. I don't think the Knicks are going to keep those 2 first-round draft picks. So leverage one of those either to move up or to go get yourself some talent from another team. And as far as some of the other folks that are left on this team, Bullock, if I read today, Bullock could command a full mid-level exception. God bless the team that wants to give that to him, because it wouldn't be me. So tonight was tough. It's rough because I just think that they just kind of laid down and Tibbs didn't make the necessary adjustments. I think I kind of agree. Maybe he shouldn't have made that. At least if you're going to switch the point guard, I don't know if Rose should have moved up because it really messed up the second unit. Maybe just have Burt start at that or something else. I do think Obi played well. I think he showed a little bit. IQ showed a little bit tonight. It's a good. I will say this: it's a good learning experience for the young guy. They got in. They could see it. They can go back to the lab and work on some things. Lastly, get an offensive assistant coach in here that can help with the offensive scheme. This team had absolutely zero offensive scheme. It's ISO, one pass, pick and roll, and it didn't work. And I think that goes back to the point guard. You need that playmaking guard. And that's all I really got.
Nah, I feel you, man. I appreciate your time. I think everything you said is on point. Everything is on point. And the only thing that I would say is it's a failure of a playoff series, like Josh said. I don't think it's a failure of a season. I'm sorry. I can't say that it's a failure of a season.
I agree with that. I think, like I said, we went into the season thinking this team was going to be 22, 23 wins fighting for a lottery, a ping pong ball in a lottery. And we go in and we get, and I figured they'd be better than they were. You get to this 41 wins, but, yes, Tibbs squeezed a lot of talent out of that. And then we got into a series against a team that, yes, they're more talented, but they were just better coached and they maximized talent. I think that's where Tibbs the playoffs was a different beast. And some of that's the coaching, but some of that's the players. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of the guys, but now again, at the same time, this is Trey's first playoff. This is DeAndre Hunter's first playoff. This is a lot of guys' first playoffs, and somehow, some way, it didn't really affect them. But for our guys, it just I don't know. So I just kind of look ahead and just say, okay, hey, Leon, the ball's in your court. Let's see what you're going to do to improve and upgrade this roster.
Yeah, I feel you. I appreciate your time. Appreciate the call, man. And here's why I say it's not a thrown away season. And I know, the first thing most people are going to say is, well, we were expected to be this, and we ended up with 41 wins. That's part of it. But I think the main thing is that we established something. You're not going to take a straight line to the top. And you're going to have bad failures along your way to the top. If you're going to get there, you're going to have bad failures. Anyone who's ever owned a business or businesses understands that you start businesses and your first few times starting a business, you might fail. You might think it's going well and then you fail. You drop down, you fail. But you keep going and eventually you succeed. And when you talk about this team right here, right now, we put ourselves in a position, a team that, for the most part, most people said didn't have much, put ourselves in a position to be in the 4th seed. So we expected more. Expectations change. I agree. Expectations change. But we built something. We established something. And we do need to give it time to blossom before we just jump off the bridge and say, that's it. Right? Because while we got obliterated in this series, we're still a team that has some really good building blocks and $60 million in cap space to add talent around those building blocks. And we cannot forget that. Not only do we have $60 million in cap space, but we have 2 first-round draft picks in this upcoming draft. We have 2 second-round draft picks, I believe, or maybe even more in this upcoming draft. And we have draft picks in 2022. Second-round draft picks in 2022. We got those second-round draft picks in 2023. So we are primed and ready to be able to retool this team. Some of these players will be here. Some of them will not be here. But, Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, maybe Reggie Bullock, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, Mitchell Robinson. Right? These are players that are part of your rotation. Derrick Rose most likely will be here. Maybe Reggie Bullock. All right, so you got 6 or 7 players that are part of your rotation that you can continue to add more power around and hopefully add some star power.
Sim, I just want to say that maybe failed season was was too strong. But this definitely was a failed playoff series, and I totally agree with everything that you said. But again, when you do all that stuff during the regular season and you build yourself up and then come out in the playoffs and perform like this, which was the total opposite, the reciprocal of what we did during the regular season, to me, it's a failed playoff series, and I think it affects the season, how overall you look at the season. Now, I get it. Granted, this was a great season. No one expected us to be here. I didn't, for sure. You guys know that. I definitely didn't expect the Knicks to be at this current spot. But guess what? These draft picks that we have, this cap space, we had that prior to the season too. So, I mean, everything that you mentioned is all fair, and I do expect this team to rebound and make the right decisions in the offseason. However, I mean, coming off that type of performance in this series on the home floor, after all the talk in the media with Capella coming out and saying stuff and RJ saying he guarantees we were going to win and all that stuff, like, to me, and then don't show up, don't perform.
I get it. I get it. Hold on.
The part that you just said about having a great season and then going out the way we did in the playoffs, I totally agree with you with. But the thing about it is you can't discredit what we did during this season because we weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, let me get to Isaiah. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead, Isaiah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, first and foremost, shout out to everyone in the panel, shout out to the chat and everything. Listen, man, to talk about what Josh was saying, again, the season was, to me, great. It was fantastic. The playoff series, I mean, it wasn't what we wanted to be, but again, I don't really count that as a failure. I mean, again, right, this is Julius Randle's first time there, RJ Barrett's first time there, and I get that, a lot of the Hawks, a couple of them guys besides Gallo and Lou and all them, listen, they have more talent than us. They have more talent than us. They were.
Let him finish. Let him finish. Don't cut him off. Let him finish.
They were more talented than us. They were better coaching us. They've had better execution. Those are the things that happen. Again, what I got from this was Julius Randle got playoff experience. RJ Barrett got playoff experience. Like Sim said, we have $60 million in cap space. We have a plethora of picks. Like, I understand how people felt throughout the season that, yes, we won 41 games and the defense was good. But again, when it gets to the playoffs, it goes to another level. Sometimes you have to throw away what you did in the regular season, and you've seen what happened. We were one of the best defensive teams in the regular season, and we kept getting blown out. And we kept getting Trae Young and them guys. Kev, you got, bro.
I'm giving you finish. I'm letting you finish. I'm not saying anything. I'm letting you finish. I didn't say anything.
Oh my God, your voice.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
But no, listen. At the end of the day, this was a successful season. The playoffs, were they disappointing? Yes, but again, people expectations just kept changing. When listen, we're fine. It's okay. These guys are learning, so I don't think any of this was a failure. This was all a learning experience for the Knicks, and we'll be better, man. This is literally my whole thing. People got to understand that this is the first year. People are hold on. So let me just say this. People are really jumping the gun to a lot of the things that. I mean, I'm listening to people say trade Randle, RJ Barrett's trash, and the Knicks should be aggressive and free. The Knicks should be uber aggressive and free agency. I would say hold on to a lot of those things because again, these guys have to learn and grow. And you being overly aggressive can end up like another Carmelo Anthony situation where you trade all this stuff, trade all your assets to get us a star, and you don't have the foundational pieces there. We have the foundational pieces here. These guys have to learn. This playoff experience was great. We've seen that Obi Toppin is actually worth something to keep. But maybe quickly it's something worth to keep. These guys are young. These guys are less than 25 years and less These guys are 25 years young and younger. So again, it's okay. So we're gonna be fine. Don't trade the farm just to get something quick and simple.
Well,
the only thing I disagree with you with.
I don't think we're there on trading the farm. I'm not worried about that at all. But I can't say it's not a failed playoff series.
Yeah, and it
was a terrible playoff series for the New York Knicks. Terrible. And to me, hold on, let me finish. You asked them to let you finish. Let me finish. Right? To me, expectations do change. You get better, expectations change. No matter how fast you get better, expectations change. You know what I'm saying? So we expected a better performance from the Knicks in the playoffs. So it was a failed playoff series. A failed season? No, I can't say it was a failed season, but it was a failed playoff series, right? Because we should have performed better. We could have performed better. Now, is it a learning experience? Of course it's a learning experience. Do you grow and build on that? Of course you do. But I still think it was a failed playoff experience, failed playoff series. Underwhelming and performed below our expectations, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They performed below my expectations. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that doesn't mean you throw away the season. It lets you know that you've got more to go. You've got a ways to go to be a serious playoff team. You know what I mean? And can you do it all in one offseason? Maybe. They have a lot of assets. They have a lot of capital, salary cap, draft capital. They have a lot of ways that they can maneuver. And I fully trust Leon Rose and everyone to make the right moves. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say it wasn't a failed playoff. It was definitely a failed playoff series.
Hey, Kev, before you go, Wickle, let me just say this, because here's one thing, son, that I felt like a lot of us were ignoring some of the red flags during the season. It's just my opinion that we throw the season out. Because again, right, I think we all knew Julius Randle wasn't the first option. Can we all agree to that?
He's the first option on our team.
On our team.
Yeah, on our team.
Everything is predicated on our team. This is what we had to deal with for this season.
Right.
It's not about next season. It's about this season.
But I think
But Isaiah, you're right.
I think I'm missing the point. What I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying, but listen to this. Atlanta also came in with question marks. I read the article of all of the question marks on Atlanta coming into the playoffs. Every team has question marks.
Yeah.
The problem is they were able to show our flaws and expose them, and we were not able to expose theirs. And
they have more talent than us, though.
They're not talented.
No.
Thank you.
I will give you that. But that wasn't the difference in this game. Randall playing like crap.
And Tibbs four wonders.
And Tibbs not making the adjustments to make it difficult for them. Listen, let me just say this really quick. Trey is the engine to their offense. He makes all of them look good.
Uh-huh.
Randall is also the engine to our offense. You cut Randall off, Bullock not getting the shots he usually get.
Yep.
Burt, all of them guys are not getting the shots they used to get, and they're not getting it in the spots they used to get. So they look like trash.
Yep.
Because the offense goes through Randall. Now, had we found the way to do the same thing to Trey and bottle him up, you think Herter would have looked the way he looked? You think Collins would have looked the way they look? No, they would not.
But Steph, okay, so here's the thing though, right? Again, I don't know why we get so tabooed when we say a team's more talented.
No. I agree with you. But I'm saying that wasn't the difference in the game. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying.
You want me to be real? You should have Frank in there. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because if Randall shows up and Tim shows up, even with their talent, we having a different conversation.
And AD, you can do it all you want. You can do that all you want. But because he didn't play, the Frankfurter, you can say that all you want. But
I don't think it would have been a difference, though. But it's okay if he played.
It was never explored. It was never explored.
Kev, don't worry.
Don't worry, AD, because he'll be off the team and you'll be very happy. He'll be off the team and Knox will be off the team. You'll be very happy.
Kev, as I told you before, he's not that nice.
Yeah. Anthony, why you look like an Italian mobster right now? Like you about to go whack somebody. You about to go whack somebody, bro.
I'm about to go get the henchman. Let me say something real quick here. And peace to the chat, peace to the panel. You know what I mean? Sim, you already know what it is, fam. This was not a lost season, but I'm gonna break it down to this for me. In that third quarter, coming out of halftime, and I don't know if you guys touched on this when we were down 4 or 5, and I'm watching it get away, and Tibbs just stayed with that same lineup up until I think 3 minutes left before he decided to make a substitution. And I'm like, my guy, I just don't understand what lesson you're trying to teach right here, because it's getting away from you. It's going, and the guys that you got on the floor, led by Julius, is not capable of doing anything. They're turning the ball over. They're missing shots. They're taking shots outside of the offense. You're the coach. If nothing else, you have the most experience out of everybody in the organization, including the higher ups. You've been to the playoffs. You've been in serious games. What are you doing? I couldn't understand that right there. I'm watching the league get bigger and bigger in that third quarter, and I'm wondering, you're not making a sub just for a sub's sake? You're just staying with these guys right here because what? Because they brought you to the dance? I would rather dance with an ugly woman that can dance and a pretty woman with an ugly ass dress on, excuse my language, that can't do nothing. It made no sense.
10 points. That's big for them. That's big.
Isaiah.
Oh no, I was gonna say again, right? I think we can all agree that this series, which I think was a little surprising to all of us, was that Tibbs got out coached badly, really badly. His adjustments were horrible.
Badly.
Again, right? I think we talked about it earlier that the substitutions for D Rose and Tyler Gibson, that was just a big flop. Me personally, I think that was a big flop. I didn't understand it because to me the defensive assignments looked really bad. Like especially like the last 2 games, they were confused about where to go. These guys were getting easy dunks. I think it just to me it just go back to this. Gonna go back to the drawing board, and he just has to get better. They all have to get better because again, to me, getting out. Listen, Nick McMillan is a great coach. Let's get that out the way. Nick McMillan is a great coach. The Hawks will be complete idiots if they don't sign him to be the full head coach. But I just think he shouldn't have got out coached by Nate McMillan. This guy hasn't won a playoff series, I think, since 2001 with the Seattle Seahawks. Oh my God, Seattle. Listen, that's how long ago. I said they Howard. It was decided, but I just think, listen, man, Tibbs just has to get better, man. This is playing point blank. He has to get better.
He does. But here's what I'm going to say about that. I think with the Atlanta Hawks, Lloyd Pierce was there for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so,
right?
Yeah.
About 3 years. And all the while building an offensive system with that team. Nate McMillan didn't come in and change the offense. He lit a fire. He lit a fire under the team. Now, obviously, they added more firepower with the team and Gallinari and Bogdanovich and Lou Williams and those type of guys, right? He came in and lit a fire under the team. But that offensive system has been building for years. So with Tom Thibodeau, whether or not people believe that he can develop an offense or not, it's only been this season that he's been with this team.
Yeah.
To develop any kind of an offense. So as far as that's concerned, I think we still have to look and say, okay, let's see what happens next year when hopefully we add more firepower and hopefully he's able to put more in place as far as his offensive system is concerned. When you have some more players that are, hopefully you have a point guard and then you have some players that are, a little more capable on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and said this would be what you said. I remember you said this a very long time ago, right? I remember you said this a long time ago when we were talking about when Tom Thibodeau first got here. we had a discussion. You said that this isn't football. You don't you don't have a coach that's like a offensive coordinator, right? And you could just be the defensive. You can't be like Bill Belichick, who's a defensive specialist, and then have a Josh McDaniels, who's the offense that the offense is basically just him, and you control the defense. It doesn't work like that in basketball, from what I remember you telling me. So again, right, I definitely agree with you what you said there. The Knicks have to add talent. Tom Thibodeau, if you look throughout his career, he really hasn't had that many great offensive pieces. So this would be new territory if we actually get some more offensive pieces. Like you have Randall that's developed, you have RJ that's developed, and you're most likely going to keep D-Roll. That's three guys. Then, like you said, if you're able to add some more offensive talent through free agency, get through the draft, and let them actually have an offensive system with a point guard, and Randall actually it doesn't have the ball for most of the time, and actually have a point guard there that can actually distribute the offense, then we're going to see some new wrinkles. And I think that's what it really is. Because I think Tondo can run the offense. I really, really do. It's just, to me, this year, he didn't have the best offensive talent to run his system that he wanted to run.
I agree, Isaiah, but listen, he could have ran Trey Young down in the post. I mean, look at what Atlanta did to
I agree with you. I agree with you.
When Hunter was on Derrick Rose. They had like three straight possessions where he took him down in the post. You know, all it is just seeing what's on the court and just saying, let's take advantage of this because it's a game of inches. You know what I mean? You get a few transition buckets, you get a few offensive rebounds, you get some points down in the post against Trey Young. None of that. So we're not even talking about an offensive system. Just take advantage of mismatches.
Yes. You know what, Steph? Let me piggyback on that a little bit. I saw Julius get the ball in the post tonight once for the first time in the whole series that he had a mismatch. I'm watching Hunter take Rose in those same positions and even lower. How is it a second-year player can get those positions, his coach can get him in those positions, and you're a coach who've not only just coached, but you've also been a president, a general manager, you've been the one to acquire talent, you've been on every facet of the NBA game, and you're gonna tell me that you didn't see these things? You don't notice that Trey Young is 6 feet, 100 and maybe 85 pounds? Like, when I hear these guys tell me, and I'm gonna get off after this, because I can feel my blood percolating.
Save it for the morning. Save it for the morning.
I feel it's starting to ride, and I've had a few libations, and I don't want to be responsible. I want to be responsible for the things that I say tonight. So I'm gonna end with this, and my apologies, Sim.
You go.
I don't want guys to tell me that this guy or any guy knows more than we all do collectively. I don't want no one to ever tell me that, because I'm watching Nate McMillan do the exact same thing that we were asking for Tibbs to do with a smaller player.
Mm-hmm.
Taking advantage of, I mean, you got this guy here he had a great series. No question. Had a great series, did his thing, but when did he have to work on defense? When?
On offense either.
When? Can't tell me that. But anyway, peace to the panel, peace to the chat, Knicks family. It's always going to be love. You understand what I'm saying? I'll be arguing and battling with you guys over this off season, because guess what? Come August, God willing, I'll be watching.
He's on the clock. He's on the clock.
I'll be watching.
He's on the clock. He's on the clock.
All that Leon Rose, World Wide West stuff, I'll be watching.
You're on the clock. You're on the clock.
Peace, family. You already know what it is. Knicks
Appreciate
family
you, AD. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Talk to you tomorrow, AD.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks lose to the Atlanta Hawks 103-109, and a magical season that we had comes crashing to a less than magical end, as the Knicks had no answers for the Atlanta Hawks. And we can only hope that the Knicks have some answers in the offseason and how they're going to try to retool with this squad. And obviously, every year, things change with teams as teams get eliminated. Organizations, try to make upgrades and changes. We've already seen with the Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge is resigning. He's stepping down.
Yeah.
You see all of those type of things happen. I don't think we're going to see any kind of executive changes with the New York Knicks unless Scott Perry, takes a job someplace. I think a lot of speculation is that he's going to stay with the New York Knicks.
Name Little.
But we'll see if there's any kind of front office changes with the New York Knicks. I don't think there will be, but there's definitely going to be player changes. The Knicks are going to retool. They've got to look at how players fit in the salary cap. Julius Randle, there's an option for Julius Randle. The Knicks have an option. They can pick up his option. Once they pick up his option, which I believe they will, then he'll get paid $20 million next season. And then they've got to decide, do we offer him an extension or do we see how it plays out and wait until he goes into free agency? You got players like Reggie Bullock, who, may be eligible to, well, not maybe, is eligible to receive the mid-level exception, a full mid-level exception, maybe $8-9 million a year. He may be looking for something that's more longer term, like a 4-year deal. The Knicks will have to make a decision about Reggie Bullock. You got Alec Burks. He's on a 1 year. And by the way, the Knicks can go over the cap to sign Reggie Bullock. We'll just put that out there. I don't think the Knicks are going to do anything to make themselves go over the cap now. You don't go over the cap unless you're a contender, in my opinion. So I don't think they're going to be looking to sign players over the cap. That wouldn't make sense to me. Alec Burks, he's on a $6 million deal this year. The Knicks did not sign him to anything longer than that, so they'll have to make a decision on what to do, if they want to try to bring Alec Burks back. Nerlens Noel, maybe looking for a longer contract. Remember, not too long ago, he turned down a $70 million contract. I'm sure he's looking to get that money back. Right? The Knicks got to make a decision about Frank Ntilikina. What they're going to, what do they feel about Frank? Of course, you got Emmanuel Quickley's under contract. RJ Barrett's under contract. Obi Toppin is under contract. Kevin Knox is under contract for another year. We will see what the Knicks decide to do in the offseason. It's going to be interesting. Derrick Rose is a free agent for all intents and purposes. It seems like it's probably a done deal that he'll be back in New York. He loves being in New York. Tom Thibodeau is his guy. Can they make the money work? I don't think that'll be an issue because I don't know if Rose is going to be looking for, an exorbitant amount of money. And he's still under his Adidas deal. Yeah, he's still making, a lot of money from his Adidas contract. I think he wants to be someplace that's comfortable. For Derrick Rose, I feel like peace of mind is more important than money right now. So I would look for Derrick Rose to be back in New York. We're going to see how this team retools. It's going to be interesting to watch as we go into the offseason. Josh, go ahead.
Just want to piggyback off a couple of things that you said. First and foremost, I 100% believe Scott Perry deserves to be running basketball operations somewhere around the NBA. I was very surprised that Brad Stevens got that Boston job because I feel like that would have been a great spot for Scott Perry to be running that basketball operations because he definitely deserves it. He's been around the league for a long time, and we've seen the moves that he's made on this team to get us in the current position that we're in right now. The second thing that I want to say is about all those contracts that you mentioned. These are half the roster. Mostly these rotation players are on 1-year deals, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with them. So even though we have a lot of cap space as of right now, if we don't resign any of these guys, we're going to want some of these guys to come back next season because that was a part of that core, a part of our core that we used to be successful this season. So if we bring some of these guys back, we're going to have to pay them a little bit more money, and that will eat into the cap space or the potential cap space that we might have had if we don't keep them. So I think that it's very important to point that out. Because I believe that we are one player away, and I believe if we can get a guy in here, we can sign a guy for $30 million, we can definitely go to the next level without question. And I already know Isaiah's going to disagree with this, but think about this, Isaiah. That Phoenix Suns team last year who didn't make the bubble, they added one great player, and Chris Paul to their team, and they're about to beat the Lakers, the defending champion. And who knows, they might even go to the Western Conference Finals. So they're going to be a contender.
Let him finish. Let him finish. Hey, just let him finish. Stop. Go ahead.
They're going to be a contender. I think this current Knicks team from this season, this roster, was better than that team last season. So I'm just saying, I think we're one player away, and I think a lot of people believe that that watch this team.
So I want to respond to what Josh says because Josh knows me so well. I'm going to disagree because to me, that's just a bad take. We're not one player to play. We're not we're not one player away. This series should have clearly showed you that we are not one player away. Because again, right, you got to have guys that are consistent and that guys are going to be hitting shots. Again, this series, right, even though it was a learning experience. I totally agree with you. As a learning experience, these guys will be better. But again, we have, to me, no point guard, no starting small forward, no center going on right now. I mean, besides, if Mitch comes back, then okay, that's fine. But no small forward, no.
What do you mean if he comes back? What do you mean if he comes back? He's under contract.
Mitchell Robinson. Oh yeah, Mitchell Robinson's going to come back. You know, when he's healthy. But again, you have no point guard, no starting small forward. Our bench is really inconsistent, in my opinion. Again, we have guys like Alec Burks, journeyman, Reggie Bullock. Clearly, you've seen when we needed them a lot most during the series, it wasn't there. Again, I don't think we're one player away. I don't think we're a Kawhi Leonard away from going to what we were this year to being the top 3-4 team to actually compete for a championship. I don't agree with that.
Actually, I think if you add Kawhi Leonard to this team as currently constructed, this team is way different, and they're probably in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, don't you find it a coincidence? Don't you find it a coincidence that, you know, every time the Knicks lose, right? It's always, well, see, I told you so. I told you so. But during the course of the season, when we're winning games out, so we're technically not supposed to win, it's like, no one has anything to say.
I could point out a lot of things. I could point out to the things that I was right about that showed up in the series that y'all was laughing about me, or that y'all clowning me about during the whole year.
Yeah, but the thing is, Isaiah, if Tibbs makes adjustments, the series is totally different.
Well, he did, George, and we lost.
That was a talent issue.
That was the wrong one.
There was a talent issue in this series. That's clear.
That was one issue. The main issue was our main guy did not show up. Now, if you want to get on Randall and say he's not what he thought he would, we can have that argument. And Tibbs, those was the two main issues. You can have a more talented team and still beat them.
Yep.
Why do we play the game?
A more talented team.
I believe that no one on this panel thought that Randall and RJ were going to have the games that they had.
I thought
RJ, but not Randall.
Well, okay,
but I will say, if we're not one player away, it's possible.
We're not one player away.
I just said, Isaiah, let me finish. I said, if we're not one player away, we can easily be one off season away. It depends on how the front office wants to build this team. If you're waiting for if you're waiting for Quickly and Obi and all of these young players, just trade Randall and let those guys develop. Because by the time they come into their own, Randall's going to be 30 on the other side of 30. It's going to take time. So the front office has to decide if we're rocking with Randall, then you could be an off season away, depending on who you bring in. And those other guys, those young guys, you're not counting on them. You look at Philly, you look at all these other teams, they got young people on their team, Maxey. You can point to any, they're not counting on those people.
No.
If they, they play, they contribute, but they're not counting on them. They got their 2 or 3 horses that they're counting on.
They're just
and that's what we need.
But Steph, those are young guys.
Excuse me?
But those are young guys that Philly's counting on. Joel Embiid's only 25. Joel Embiid's not old. Joel Embiid's like what, 25?
Okay, what I'm saying, right.
Ben Simmons is only like 24. Yeah. That's the core.
But those guys are way ahead of Obi, and it took them time to get there. So that's what I'm trying to say. If we're gonna wait for Obi and Quickly to get there, we're talking about another 4 years. So I see those guys as contributors on the team, and the Knicks in this offseason have to go out and get them 1 or 2 studs to go with Randall. Right? Yeah. I'm not waiting for these young people. And if you're going to wait for them to develop, just let Randall go. Because the timelines are off.
Yeah, and we knew as soon as, the Knicks were eliminated, whenever the Knicks were eliminated, it was going to be like this. You know what I'm saying? It was going to be like this. I mean, let's say this. I'll say this. If Chris Paul is on this team, I guarantee you this is a very, very different result to this team. I think a very good point guard on this basketball team makes our options on the floor look a whole lot different. If you watch tonight, so many plays where guys had wide open shots, they did not get a clean look because the ball was passed in a bad location. Or when they caught it, it was bobbled because it was too fast, or because they had to reach over here or reach over there. A point guard that has precision on their passes changes a lot of that. And all of a sudden, they're getting clean looks, easy looks. They don't have to take a step or two to go get the basketball because it lands right in the pocket and they can pull up and shoot. Those type of little things make a big difference. And a player that can deliver those type of passes, a player that can settle a team down, get the team in the right position means a lot. So depending on who you add, you could be one player away, depending on who you add and the way that that player puts people in different positions on the basketball floor.
So when you say one player away, do you mean one player away from competing for a championship or going to the Eastern Conference Finals? Because that's two different things.
Well, I just said contender. Contender. Like a top seed in conference. That's what I'm talking about. Not number one, not better than Brooklyn probably, not better than Milwaukee, but we'll be up there. That's what I'm saying. And we'll definitely compete and not lose in 5 games in the first round. That's what I'm talking about.
In order to win it, you got to be in it.
I mean, LeBron's about to lose in the first round, so.
Yeah, but he's already won champion.
Okay, that's come on, man. Is Anthony Davis even there? Is Anthony Davis there?
But hey, they got LeBron James.
But is Anthony Davis there? Come on, man. Let me listen to Julius. Let's listen to Julius Randle. This is Julius Randle.
Hey, Julius, what would you say was most different between the regular season when you and the Knicks dominated that team to what happened in this series?
It's a great scheme. Credit to them. Played turned the ball, shot the ball well. Made more plays than we did.
What do you say?
Malika Andrews. Julius, you so famously proclaimed earlier this year that we're here, and I'm wondering if you can extend that to a larger look at the season. Do you feel like, you've been a part of this, the Knicks have now arrived? I know it's not the ending you wanted.
Yeah, I think we're bringing a brand of basketball back that the city can be proud of. So, that's really what I mean by that. And, we have something to build on for the future.
Mark Berman.
Here he comes.
What did you make of tonight? It looked like in the first half you were really in a groove, and then the second half, with some turnovers. What was the difference?
Gotta look at the film.
Becca Harlow.
Julius, I know it's hard to reflect right now coming off of this game tonight, but you guys, there was so much growth for this season, you personally as a team. When it comes to the work, what are you most proud of?
Just who we were as a team, night in and night out. Like I said, it's tough really to process there right now. Way things ended, but we'll be back. So.
Christian Winfield.
Hey, Julius, what do you think? Do you think it came down for this series? Did it come down to talent that they had, or were there some tangible things that you guys just couldn't execute on the floor?
And so, off the top of my head, there's a couple of different things. But like I said, we'll be back next year.
Respect.
Julius, after all you accomplished this year, how difficult is it for this dream season to come to an end?
Not really processing that right now. Yeah, it's just tough to process that one right now.
Steve Popper.
This may be sort of along those lines, but you talked so much about what last summer meant to you. How anxious are you to get back? After what happened here the growth of this team, what you think the future holds.
Very anxious to get back to the grind.
Mike Borkanoff?
Juice, I mean, you've been there for last year and this year too. You talked about how you guys didn't share what the expectations were from the outside. What do you think this season did for the timeline of this franchise and just what it could be going forward?
Not sure, man. Like I said, it's kind of tough for me to process that. Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to process that and look at it from that point of view right now. I'm just focused on the series, what went wrong, what we can do better, how I can improve. So I'm sure it'll be the time to look at those things, but right now it's not.
Thank you, Julius.
Yeah, it's. I can tell you what, it's tough for a player to be in a series and then have to jump on and do a press conference. You know what I mean? That's difficult to do. Then have to answer a bunch of questions. You know, you're feeling emotional and all those type of things. You know, a lot of times, you know, I was actually looking at the video of it. There's a picture up for you guys, but from looking at him, when he's saying, I you know, it's kind of tough to process that right now. I think if basically he didn't want to break down and start crying in front of everybody. If he would have started to process those things and really think about, you know, how much it hurt for the season to be coming, you know, to be ending, you know, after such a magical season, the look on his face was like, you know, if I talk about that right now, I'm gonna break down crying, and he probably didn't want to do that. So I think that's where he's saying, you know, it's tough to process right now. I think that's what he was saying. And that's got to be tough for a team, you know, who all season long with the Knicks, except for that stretch at the end of the season, but all season long for the Knicks, it was hard work, right? We've got to outwork the other team. We've got to outwork the other team. You know, we got to do those little things. And that's what they did the entire season, which means you actually put your blood, sweat, and tears out there on the floor night in and night out. You know, and when you work that hard for something and you have the type of loss like you did in this series, you know what I mean? That's painful. And I can tell you what, I've been there. I was there just maybe 2 years ago with my daughter's high school team. You know, we worked hard. We didn't have super duper talent like a bunch of other teams, but we went through the regular season and we played really, really good. We went on a 10-game winning streak. We surprised a lot of teams. We were very similar to this team. And we won our first round playoff game. And then in the second game, a team that we beat twice in the regular season, no lie, at how similar this story is to what the Knicks just did. A team that we beat twice in the regular season, the bright lights were just too much for my girls. And we had 2 points going into the fourth quarter of that game in the second round of the playoffs. One game before the championship game for our division, for the division championship. One game away, we were down 13-2. It was a defensive battle throughout. Right, a defensive battle throughout. Now this is a team that was averaging, you know, 55, 60 points a game. Right, for high school girls, you know, it's a good amount of points. 55, 60 points a game. We had 2 points going into the fourth quarter. It was 13-2. We made a run. We ended up losing the game by 7, but we froze. The stakes just got high. My daughter was a senior. Nobody else was over a sophomore. And the stakes were just high for them, and it was, you know, it was tough, you know, and you know, if you guys would have been at that game and been in the huddle when, like, you know, it's the fourth quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they all start breaking down, crying like we can't go out like this, made me want to cry. I had to step away from the huddle so I could keep my composure. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine how hard it is to talk about it with the media after, you know, just after losing. It's very difficult. Let me get you a phone call. We're going to get to Tom Thibodeau as well. Caller, you live. What's popping?
Sam, what's going on, man?
What's going on with you, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, man, I just want to – I'm feeling good, you know. It stings like the players. You know, you don't want to go into a press conference. But once you face the music, you know, in that fourth quarter, I just want to say thank you, Sim. Your coverage, your channel's amazing. I appreciate you letting me call in, giving the phone line. It's been a blessing to talk to all you guys throughout the year. And really think about it. I mean, you broke it down so well, man. I mean, we were projected to do nothing. Lowest payroll in the league. You got young guys all over the place. And to me, I think this was one of my favorite seasons watching the Knicks in 20 years because they had to scratch and claw Sim for every win. This was not the most talented team. They had to literally fight for every win like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. You know?
Yeah, you're right. They did. They had to fight, scratch, and claw. You know, they had the one stretch where they really started. It felt like they found their groove offensively, right? And they started to really score the basketball. You know, there was just that one groove. But then, you know, they reverted back, and it was short lived, and they couldn't find that groove again in the playoffs. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs, look, we're going to learn. I mean, I'm just happy we didn't sacrifice much. I mean, you look at the Hawks and what they did in free agency, they really improved their team. I mean, and they were fully healthy. I respect to them. They're a good team. Bogdanovich, Gallo, all the pieces they added around Trae Young. They're a good team, and we're going to do the same thing now. We got $60 million in cap space. We got 7 first-rounders over 5 years. We got the people in place that'll make good decisions. I think Julius is only going to get better. Sim, we said it every night. Even when Julius struggled late in games in the regular season, he's going to learn. He's still learning. He's still learning. RJ quickly and Obi, they're going to improve. Mitch is going to be healthy, hopefully. And look, I can't really offensively. I agree. You talked about the offense. What do I want to see moving forward? We got to take pressure off Randall. We got to get personnel in here where on offense we're not just playing through Randall. We got to have more ball movement. We got to become a much better offense. We got to become a much better rebounding team. I think we should even become a better defensive team. And I think we were great on defense, but it's got to translate to the postseason. I just want to say, Sam, if Knicks fans, I know it hurts. I know it hurts. We're just coming off of it. But if you could take a step back and think about how much joy this team gave us every night and what this team really was projected to do, I think you got to say, look, they really did an unbelievable job this year. It hurts, but I think the future's very bright. You know?
I agree. I agree with you. It hurts. This was a terrible series. We expected more from the series. I expected more from the series, from the Knicks in this series. Terrible series. But the future is bright. There's no doubt about it. The future is bright. And, you know, they're in a good situation when you look at the offseason and the things that they will have the ability to do, the flexibility that they have and all of those things. So, yeah, the future is definitely bright. It's painful now because it was a terrible playoff series. But, yeah, there's a bright future.
It hurts, man. I mean, I wanted it. I mean, that Game 4 really, to me, because all year we said they bounced back. They're resilient. And I think that Game 4, Sim, down 2-1, the Knicks all in the regular season, even when they lost that game, we would come on here and say, nope, they're going to fight a way to get it back to 2-2. But it just didn't happen for whatever reason, whether it's in. I'm not making excuses. The Hawks played well. You got to give them credit, too. But I'll just say this with Julius. I want to see Julius here. I like his attitude. I think he can learn. He had an awful series, turning it over, bad decisions, but he's going to learn. We need to get better pieces around him. We need to get another star player to play with him. And I think this front office knows what it needs to do. And I think Julius Randle is a part of the future. I don't want to hear this talk about trading Randle just because of one bad playoff series. Now the real work is in. We got to put the right pieces around Julius. I don't want to give up on Julius, man. He's a good piece. He's got to learn. He was awful. I'm not making excuses, Sam. I'm seeing a lot on Twitter about get rid of Julius Randle, and it hurts me. It hurts me to hear that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty sad. And to say all of a sudden say, get rid of the guy. If you want to question whether he's, a number one guy, I get it. I understand. But to say just go ahead and get rid of him, no, he's a piece. And he's a guy that's still learning. Listen, last season, he was terrible. People wanted to get rid of him. He came back better. He had a taste of the playoffs. He had a taste last season of being the number one guy. He came back better. He got a taste of the playoffs. Let's trust that this guy can come back better because he's shown it throughout his entire career. He's gotten better season after season after season after season. And I think we should trust that he can come back better. It does not mean that you got to say, he's our number one guy. He's going to take us to the promised land. No, you build your team, and if you can get a player, you get a player, whatever it is. But I think you got to trust that he's going to put in the work to come back even better and perform better in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You got to think that he's been able to do it because he's shown it throughout his career.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Well said, Sim. And I'll just say this: in the regular season next year, I trust they're going to get better pieces. People are going to want to come to New York. I don't know who that is. I don't know the name. Somebody's going to come. That's a good player, a really good player. And I'll just say this: in the regular season with Tibbs is my guy. He's not perfect. He made mistakes. I thought he did it overall, when you look at the whole season, a good job. But the one thing I'll say is when we get better pieces, I think in the regular season, yes, every game is important. You got to win. But I think looking at minutes, I think we could do a better job conserving guys. And I think we should experiment more. I'm all for having the same lineup, Sim, but it is important to have flexibility and know what works and what doesn't in the regular season. You know what I mean? Just trying small ball units with Obi or seeing I didn't like the fact that I understand you got to make adjustments in the playoffs, but we never did any of that stuff in the regular season to see if it could work.
Yeah, I get it. I hear you. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time. Appreciate the call. Man. All right. Yep. Have a good one.
That was a great call, man.
Yeah, really good call. Really good call. Let me get to a couple of super chats and I'll get to Tom Thibodeau. Then I'm going to come over here and get to Justin, man, who I haven't seen in a while. Big shout out to Justin. Thank you for the super chat. He said it was great to see playoff basketball. And the Garden this year had no expectations for this roster, but the future looks bright. Happy for MSG. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you there. Disappointed in the playoff series, but I feel you there.
Thank you, guys.
1975 Jam Rock. Thank you for the super chat. He said when Larry Bird was a head coach, he actually had two assistant coaches devoted to offense and defense, Rick Carlisle and Dick Harder. True, but guess what? When it came in the midst of the game, Larry Bird still had to be the guy to make the decisions on the floor because, like football, you can have a guy running the offense and he's running all of calling the offensive plays. Right? He's calling it in. He's talking to the quarterback, this, that, and the third. You can have a guy running the defense, and he's calling everything in. When you're playing basketball, all of the players go from offense to defense. And Tom Thibodeau doesn't have time to look over to say, hey, what's the next call? Tom Thibodeau's got to know what we're doing on offense, what we're doing on defense, how we're doing it. Can you have a guy that works with you on offense? Yes, but I don't think you can have a guy that's just dedicated to just the offense, and he's the one calling in the plays. He's the one drawing up everything in the timeouts and all of those things. I just don't think you can do that in basketball. Do you have guys that work on the defense? Yes. But you've got to know what's going on so that you can make the proper plays. You can make the right substitutions, knowing what fits into this system or that system, or why you're putting these two players together on the floor. It's very different with basketball. D.E. Banks, thank you for the super chat. He said, what makes this season a success is if Randall and Tibbs make this place makes this a place where players want to play, and our fan base makes this a place that players want to play. Well, hopefully we've done that throughout this season. We will find out in the future if that's what we did this year. We'll find out. Marty Knicks, he said, no handle Randall is back. You know, people that didn't like Julius Randle, go ahead, enjoy yourselves right now. You guys were, for the most part, quiet throughout the season, but go ahead and enjoy yourselves right now. It's okay. Go ahead and do what you do. He'll be back, and he'll be back stronger. Let's take a listen to Tom Thibodeau, and then we'll get over here and talk to my man Justin in the building. And Knicks fans, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I go live, drop a video, or post in my community section. Please hit that like button right now. Hit the like button and subscribe. Here's Tom Thibodeau.
Coach is here. If you have a question, raise your hand. Steve Popper.
Tom, you talked about the need to come out, first quarter and concentrate on that. It just seemed like right from the start, maybe not there tonight for some of the guys.
Yeah. I thought we got behind the first couple minutes, but I thought the first quarter was actually pretty good. I thought defensively the effort was there, getting to the line. And, obviously I want to congratulate the Hawks. They were terrific. Nate and his staff and their organization, their team, played really well. That being said, and, I told our guys this, I'm proud of what our team accomplished this year. Obviously disappointed with the result tonight, and hopefully we can learn and get better from it. But I thought our guys gave us everything they had all year long. Very proud of them. And hopefully we can take this and use it as motivation for the work that we have to get done this summer in preparation for next year. So I think we had, a lot of guys, this was their first run through the playoffs, so there's learning that goes along with it. And trial and error is a big part of learning, and until you get that experience, and there's only one way to get experience, is you have to get it. But it's a big part of learning, and hopefully we can take that and move it forward.
Brian Mahoney.
Tom, what was the biggest challenge in trying to defend Young in this series? I know you've defended against a lot of guys through the years. What made him kind of so difficult for you guys?
Yeah, just that, they surrounded him with a lot of shooting, and Capella and Collins put a lot of pressure on the rim. And then, he's clever. He's very good with the ball. He can shoot. He can pass. I think he's really grown this year. He's done a great job for their team. So hats off to him. He's a terrific talent.
Becca Harlow.
Coach, you mentioned that you're proud of the guys. There was so much growth in so many different areas this season. What are you most proud of that this team was able to accomplish?
Yeah, just building the foundation, building the right habits, everyone getting better, learning, growing, being together, getting knocked down, getting back up, coming back in the next day. Attitude and approach was outstanding from last summer to the end, so you couldn't ask for anything more from a team. And they were, a joy to be around every day. And so I got great respect for the effort they put forth, their togetherness. We fell short in the end. And so we'll look at it, and we'll learn and we'll grow, and we know the challenge will be greater next year.
Malika Andrews.
Tibbs, you mentioned turning your attention, using this for motivation for prep for next season. At what point do you start to think about that? Is that tomorrow? Is that tonight? Is that
no. And I told him, look, we need to get away. It's a long year, and they put a lot into it. So we'll take 2 to 3 weeks and just get away, decompress, re-energize, and then we'll start talking about the plans for the summer and what we have to do next. So, and then for us, for the coaches, we'll just take a look at the season and generate some new ideas and move forward and talk with everyone in the organization. And our whole organization was terrific all year. Front office, Jim Dolan has given us everything that we've asked for. And so it was great to have the fans in the building at the end of the year. So we're looking forward to next season.
Ian Bagley.
Hey, Tom, what do you think it was about the Rose the decision to start Rose, and why do you think that didn't work out the way that you guys had hoped it would?
Well, that doesn't fall on any one guy. It's how everything works in totality. So, I thought we played well in game one. We were flat in game two. The group that played well, that got us going, was that group in the second half. And then you look at the things that they're doing on the court and what might fit best. And so, that's the way you have to approach it. And I think, you learn from each game. And, we'll look at the season, we'll break it down, we'll look at it in totality, and we'll formulate the plan and going forward.
Steph Bondy.
Hey, Tom, personnel-wise, was there something you can pinpoint that this team needs based on this playoff series to be successful in the playoffs?
Well, I think you learn, from each experience. And so, I thought Atlanta they added some good pieces to complement Trey, and I think that helped them. In every year you analyze the things you did well, the things you didn't do as well as you would like. You look at how you match up with the teams you start with your division, then you look at the conference, and you look at the league, and then you see where you may have opportunities, whether that's through the draft, through free agency, trades, your own player development. All four areas factor into it.
Mark Berman.
Hey, Tom, what was the mood in the locker room with the players after the game?
Yeah.
And also with Derrick Rose, is he hurt? He didn't look himself tonight.
Yeah, he's nicked up. Like most guys are nicked up right now. But in terms of the mood of the team, I think, it's a great group of guys, top to bottom. And there's, as could be expected, the disappointment of losing the playoff series. But also, I think they know that they've given everything that they have. And once you do that, that's all you can do. So I think they're proud of what they accomplished. I don't think anyone saw them, doing what they did. Everyone doubted them all year. They didn't doubt themselves. And so there was a great belief. They worked as hard as you could possibly work. They shared, they sacrificed, they did all the things that you can ask for from a team.
Bruce Beck.
Tom, on a personal note, what does it mean to bring relevance back to this franchise this year?
Yeah, and it's great because of, and you don't do anything alone in this league. So from ownership to management to, the leaders and our best players to the entire team, it was everyone working together. And I think we all know what the Knicks mean to the city. And we saw the fans and, of course, the arena. There's no other arena like this. There are no other fans like this. And so, we're proud of what we did, but, we know we still have a long way to go, and that's the way we have to approach it. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder.
Last question, Ian O'Connor.
Yeah, Tom, just following up on the fans. Obviously, they've been through a lot over the last 2 decades. Just what did you feel from them over the course of the regular season and in this series? And what do you think your team in this season gave them?
Yeah, look, for I think everyone, and going through a pandemic is not easy. And I think there was great appreciation for the team. I think New York has always been that way. It's the sports fans in all sports, very knowledgeable, but the Knicks fans are special. I've been all around the league, and there's no other place like this. And so it was great to experience. It was great at the end, even when we had 2,000 fans, it felt like 19,000. And so there's great appreciation from our organization. I know from our players and coaches, we all felt it, and that goes a long way. And hopefully we gave them something that they can be proud of. And so, and as I said, we're looking forward to next season. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think it's exciting for us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tom Thibodeau, and you heard it right there. A lot of work to be done, but they're looking forward to next season, and he thinks it can be exciting for us, for the fans, for the players, for everybody. Justin, what's poppin' with you, my man? It's been a minute. Glad to see you. How you feeling?
It's been a long time, fellas, though, but listen, everything he said, Tom,
True to the T. 100% true to the T. Nobody. Listen, I was on the Kenny Atkinson bandwagon this year. I wasn't for Tom to be coach. I was on the trade Julius Randle by the trade deadline bandwagon this year also. What Tom did, in my opinion, I don't know why he ain't going to get coach of the year. He should get coach of the year. I was just happy to see playoff basketball at the Garden this year, to hear the crowd roaring. Nobody expected fourth place. Nobody expected a playoff run at that. I was just happy to see playoff basketball finally in the Garden in a long time. I'm proud of this team the way they played it. We every win that we got, there was a lot of scratch and claw wins, and that's the development of a team that is moving forward to a bright future. And I'm proud of this year. That's all I wanted to say. I'm very proud of this team. I'm proud of the organization. Do we need to make a few little knickknacks here and there? Yeah, we do. But overall, no, the whole league, the entire New York City, we didn't expect anything from this team. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud that we made it. I have my head held high, plain and simple. Plain and simple.
No doubt about it, man.
I'm not disappointed at all. I'm sad they lost the series, but I'm not disappointed at all. Not at all.
And I'll say this too, Sim, because I was just reading up on Bleacher Report a little bit, and I was just I don't know. Are you gonna do the D Rose interview? I don't know.
Yeah. In a little bit. I'm gonna get to this phone call in just a second. As soon as you're finished, I'm gonna get to the phone call.
No, go ahead, because it's about D Rose. But if we're gonna do the interview, I'll talk about it after you do the interview.
All right. Well, let me get to the phone call then. Caller, you live. What's popping? Tell me what's your name. Where you from, man?
Hello. It's Rafi, and I'm from. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, my man.
Hello? Yeah, it's Rafi from London, calling 442. Happy to hear the guys at the chat. Shout out to the chat, everyone.
Shout out to you, my brother.
About this season. What an amazing season. Just an amazing season. I've just been thinking about, regardless of how this season ended, I believe this has been the best season because I've been watching the Knicks since about the beginning of the decade of 2010. And obviously, I know we had the 2012 and 13 season, but this season for me, just seeing all the fans, all of us supporters, just, together for once, and just even though people expected us to win, 22, 23 games, and then get into the playoffs and fighting our heart out, you have to respect it. And obviously, people need to remember, I know it might have been a rocky end, but we've got so much cap space. We've got so much talent on our squad, and we can add with the amount of draft picks that we got. And even if we don't, we can still we can use those as trade pieces. Now we've had this playoff series with the Hawks. Kudos to the Hawks. They were obviously the better team. Now we know what we need to do in order to improve. What's that? We need to get people that can make shots, create shots for others, and 3-point shooters. So I was just going to ask you, Sim, in terms of what people do you feel we need to keep in the team, and what sort of players do you think we should be looking for? Because I personally feel we need to keep D Rose, maybe keep Noel, and maybe try and go for DeRozan. But what do you think of that? And just another question, in terms of this series, what do you guys think was more missed? Having Mitchell Robinson on the court, or maybe having Matt Woodson as an offensive coordinator with Tom Thibodeau?
That's a good question. I'm gonna take that last one first. I think, it's hard for me to say anything about Mike Woodson because you don't know what you just don't know what it was like in the locker room and all that kind of stuff because we're fans, right? And we watch from afar. I do think that Mike Woodson's presence was probably missed, but I really do think we missed Mitchell Robinson because his ability to defend the screen and roll, I think he defends it better than Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel is a better shot blocker and maybe a more effective shot blocker than Mitchell Robinson. But Mitchell Robinson's ability to defend the screen and roll because of his long arms, his ability to grab offensive rebounds, which, we don't get that with Nerlens Noel, his ability to catch the alley-oop, which is that was an option that we were missing, right? Being able to have Mitchell Robinson set a high screen, roll to the basket, suck in the defense so that then we can open up outside shooters. We missed that tremendously in this series. So I think Mitchell Robinson was really, really missed in this series.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then as far as
I'm just looking at the video. So I'm just looking at the video right now, and I'm looking a little bit at the chat, and I'm seeing people are not really feeling this DeRozan coming in the off season. What do you think of that?
Don't read the comments, brother. Don't read the comments.
I mean, I'm not a huge DeMar DeRozan fan. I've never really have been a huge fan of his. You know, I don't know why. I can't even pinpoint it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't even pinpoint why. I just never really been a fan of DeMar DeRozan, and I don't really know why. I can't even tell you why. I can't say because he doesn't do this or he doesn't do that. I just never been a fan of his game. I don't even know why.
To be honest, the main reason I'm saying is because I'm looking at free agency right now. I know I'm looking too far ahead than that, but this is the type of person I am. But when I see the players available, he's the only guy that I can really see who we could possibly get and probably get on a 1+1 and still have a little bit of flexibility. But I understand what you mean in terms of you're probably not feeling him as well at the same time, just like due to past experiences with other teams. But
yeah. And what I'm looking for in the offseason is a point guard. That's first and foremost. I don't want to see Derrick Rose be my starting point guard. Not that he's not good. It has nothing to do with Derrick Rose and his ability to play basketball. I just rather have Derrick Rose coming off the bench, man, in that second unit, and having a point guard, a starting point guard to command the team. That's what I would rather have. So I'm looking for a starting point guard. I'm looking for more wing players. Obviously a wing player that can be a starting 3-man, and then another wing player that can really catch and shoot and knock down that 3. You know what I mean? Like can catch the ball. Like you see Bogdanovich, man, he catch the ball on his fingertips and let it go. Herter can let the ball go. Another 3 that can do that. Those type of things.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Bogdanovich had me sweating the whole series, but Sim, appreciate if you take my call. I'm still going to be listening. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to the whole chat. Don't worry, Knicks fans, man.
Yes. Shout out to you, brother, in London, man. That's pretty dope. International, baby.
Oh, say that again. Say that again.
No, I was just saying that the Knicks fans, let's try and stay. I know it's a hard series, but we got to stay positive. We still got so much money. We still got draft picks. We seem that we got a good brain trust. So just trust the process. Let's see what we do in the summer.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. You're right. We still got a lot to look forward to. It's disappointing now, but we got a lot to look forward to. And the fun is just beginning because nobody can wait to get to the offseason to see what we're going to do. So, I can't wait. I can't wait. Hey, I appreciate your time, brother. Be easy, man.
Hey.
All right. Let me get to another call here, and then I want to hear what you got to say about D Rose, Isaiah. Caller, you live. Give me your name. Tell me where you're from, man.
Bronx, New York.
What's going on? What's going on with you? What's going on with you, bro?
I'm just calling in, man, because we in big trouble moving forward. For the next 5 years, we in big trouble because we have to look at it from a better perspective. Every team in the East has a better prospect than us, besides the Pistons and the Cleveland. Because let's just say this: Chicago has a better prospect than us. The Wizards have better prospect than us.
The Wizards.
Brooklyn is just gonna get better. What are we gonna do then? Because I don't see RJ becoming one of the best players in the league in the next 5 years. Yes, he's probably gonna be a third scorer in a team, but a second best scorer in the team? No, I don't see that.
I mean, he may or may not. We don't know what he's going to be. He's 20 years old, right? And there's a lot to be said for him being 20 years old and playing in his first playoff series. I think that's really good for him. Let's not discount the fact that the Knicks have draft picks coming into this summer and money.
Yeah, but our draft picks are very, let's say the Dallas draft pick is not going to be high. The Knicks draft pick is not going to be really high. Those two draft picks are not really that good moving forward.
Well,
the one we got from the Mavs. So
how does he know that?
But
what are we going to do?
I believe
also,
those
we don't
draft
have a point guard. We never give Frank a chance to even try. And we drafting all these players that just only play offense. RJ has a problem already that he cannot go right, only left. And he can't even really shoot well with that left hand. Even though he improved this year, I gotta give it to him. But if you really look at it, RJ in the offseason, he need to go work out with someone that can really push him to play with his right hand, because that's the problem. Julius Randle only can go left also. That's the problem. So every team know that we have our two best scorer in the team only can go left.
Well, I mean, you know, you're right. They both have things that they need to work on. But let me tell you about the Knicks draft pick. The Knicks have the 19th and the 21st draft pick, right? 2 first-round draft picks. Will they keep those draft picks? Who knows? We'll see. They have $60 million in cap space. They also have second-round draft picks, right? They have the ability to make moves to get more talent on this team. You know, so, you know, you don't know going into next season if, you know, every team in the Eastern Conference is going to have, you know, a better prospect than the Knicks.
And for me, the way I'm looking at it right now, we could have literally moved back, moved all the way to the front from the last draft pick and drafted Patrick Williams from the Chicago Bulls. That kid's gonna be a superstar one way or the other.
Man.
Nothing's stopping that.
Well, come
in
on,
this team that we have, we only have one player that plays defense, which is Mitchell.
Right now,
Hold on, you said we only have one player that plays defense?
Yes, Randall don't play defense. You see, a defense-minded player, like I used to play the ball when I was in high school. A defense-minded player sees the game much more better than an offense-minded player. Offense-minded players are literally blind only to scoring, and they don't have effort. A defense-minded players play with effort. What is it, offense or defense? And that's the problem with the Knicks. We keep drafting all these players that only play offense, and the only player that we drafted that played defense was Mitchell and Frank, and Frank cannot play no offense. But we should have at least give him a chance to prove to us that. At least for 1 year. Let him play point guard for 1 year. But we didn't even do that. So
we didn't.
That's a waste of a draft pick.
So how do you make the Knicks being – the Knicks were a top 5 defense all season long.
That comes from the scheme that the coach was playing.
Okay.
You gotta execute.
The scheme that the coach was playing, but that scheme does not work for the league now because everybody shoots the three well.
I agree with you there. The Knicks got to figure out a way to not give up so much from deep. I get it. Although teams, you know, they had the number one 3-point percentage, or opponents had one of the worst 3-point percentages against the Knicks. The Knicks were like top 2 or top 3 in that category. But I do agree that the Knicks got to figure out a way to not always give up that open 3-point shot. I don't think it's that the Knicks don't have guys that want to play defense. I think the Knicks actually need guys that can play better on the offensive side of the ball. I think we do have guys that can defend. The scheme that Tom Thibodeau designed left open 3-point shooters, not necessarily the players. Did the players make mistakes? Of course they did. Of course they did. But I think the scheme was to protect the paint and take the chances on a 3-point shot. And, and I think they lived with knowing that there were going to be some games where they got burnt. But I think that was the scheme that the Knicks decided to, that's the scheme they decided that they were going to take this season. You know what I mean? Let's take a listen into Derrick Rose, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I fully expect Derrick Rose to be back this season, next season. I can't see a reason why he wouldn't want to be back. Obviously, the money has to work out and all those type of things, but I do think that Derrick Rose will be back this season. He was a phenomenal player for us this year. He helped us to accomplish many of the things that we did this season. Without Derrick Rose, we may not have been 41-31. We may not have been that 4th seed. You know what I mean? So, although it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to turn out, may not have happened. Let's take a listen. This is Derrick Rose, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a listen in.
The fourth quarter, and then second of all, you were there for most of it. How do you assess this season, and what do you think it did kind of for the timeline of this team?
Oh yeah, and I was dealing. I had some knick-knack injuries last game. Got hit in the knee and just had to play smart. Tried to give it a go, and just didn't feel right. So Tiff decided not to play me in the fourth. As far as the season, I can't complain. I came to a winning team. It was a great group to play with. They love playing with one another. Great young energy. The synergy that they built was unbelievable, unreal, and it's tough when you lose.
Aaron Weitzman.
Derrick, I know we've spoken about Julius a lot this series, but just now that series is over, are you surprised he wasn't able to sort of break through after the regular season he had?
What you mean by that? Surprised about what you mean?
Sorry, yeah. Do you hear me?
I said what you mean. Like
he never got his rhythm back. He never found the shots. After he had a great regular season and struggled the 5 games here.
It's all about just adjusting, I told him, and I still do believe in him. I'm gonna ride with him to the end, just like everybody on the team. Like he got us here, so it's all about adjustment. Making them adjustments during the game, and just learning from all of your experiences. The next time when he's back in the postseason, he has a foundation to work from. So. If anything, it's just a learning experience.
Mark Berman.
Hey, Derrick, don't know when we're going to talk to you again. It was such a great story for you to be traded here and what you did. What do you think about the future now?
With staying here, or what?
Yeah.
You know how that go, man. That's not up to me, Mark. That's up to the front office. They got big plans. Who knows if I may be back? I don't know. I'm gonna let my agent and them talk about it, but it's really not up to me at all. So just leave it like that. But I would love to come back. Who wouldn't want to play for the Knicks or be in New York? Like, I would love it, but at the same time, I know that it's out of my hands and they may have bigger plans.
Hey, Popper.
Hey, Derrick, speaking on that, you've seen more of this than a lot of these guys. Do you see the pieces here, to start, whether it's Julius, yourself, some of the other guys, the pieces to move forward here and improve?
Of course. I told you that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here is because they had a great coach. the guys, they're a young nucleus like that, like with me being in my age, like who wouldn't want to come and try to build on top of that. So I think so. I think it's a lot of people that's in the league that thinks the same thing. But like I said, it's all out of the players' hands. It's up to the people that's in the front office.
Last question, Steph Bondy.
Hey, Derek, I saw you talking to Trey after the game. You know, he had a great series. Obviously, the crowd was getting on. What do you think about what he did during this season and how he performed?
Oh, it's great basketball. I mean, prior to me even playing against him in the series, I've been said that I've always been a fan of his game. I always called him whenever he plays like the new era of point guards, where he's small, he has to be crafty. He has to his IQ of the game is very high, and he's a tough load. So you have to stick him with all five. Especially when they playing the way that they're playing. His teammates believe in him, the coaching staff. He did a great job. Like, man, everything is just falling into place for Trey over there. But I always game.
All right, that's Derrick Rose, ladies and gentlemen, and my question is, Steph, you know, they asked him about coming back and if he thinks he's going to be back with the Knicks. I tend to think that he's going to be back, but obviously he said he'd love to be back in New York, but it's up to his agent, up to Leon Rose and everything. What's your thoughts? He's coming back?
I think he's coming back, but I wouldn't be surprised, Sim, if they sign him late after they sign their other free agents. Just not to tie it up and to keep that flexibility.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you there. You know, it could be that they sign him late and hopefully he's willing to hold on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because they coming hard. Them other teams are going to come hard after.
Exactly. I still tend to believe that, you know, he's not the kind, you know, he doesn't want to be too far from Chicago unless he's in New York. Because he's been, you know, he was in New York before. He's comfortable with New York. Tom Thibodeau, Taj Gibson, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think he wants to be in L.A. or Phoenix or one of those type of places. I think he wants to be where he's comfortable. And right now, New York is where he's comfortable because of the people who are here, you know. So we'll see. Isaiah, I know you were going to say something about Derrick Rose. What were you going to add into that conversation?
Yeah, and I do agree with Steph. I do believe that most likely he's going to be probably like towards the end of the off-season edition. Because I think a keyword that he said in there was that the Knicks are planning something big. I don't know if y'all peeped that when he said that part. Because that they're planning something big. So I think there's talks around the league that the Knicks are going to plan on trying to be aggressive, and they're probably trying to look at somebody, probably a superstar most likely, that they're trying to pry away from somebody. Or I'm not going to put it out there. It could be Kawhi Leonard, maybe. Who knows? Hopefully, who knows? But I think it's pretty much written that he's going to be here. I think people around the league know how Derrick Rose is, because I always go back to what Taj Gibson said in Game 2 after we won. That D Rose is comfortable, he's happy, he's in a familiar space. And I think that's what he's about nowadays, man. Again, like you said, Sam, he has the deal money. He's made a lot of money in this league. He's made over $100 million in this league. So, again, I don't think money is really the issue for him. I think what's more important is that he's near Chicago, where his family is at, and he could get there. And, you know, listen, regardless of how people feel, James Dolan makes you comfortable. So, you know, he can take the private jet anytime he wants, go to Chicago or whatever he wants, you know, whatever they do to make him comfortable. I think that's not the problem. So I think it's fine. I'm not really worried about, you know, these other teams because, again, I think D Rose can say no. To me, unless they offer D Rose $100 million or something around that, or $80 million, something around a crazy number, I think that's the only thing that's going to really, really pry him away from even. And I be honest with you, Sam, I think D Rose is so much at peace that I don't even think he wants to. He would even want that. It sounds crazy, but he probably doesn't even want that. So again, I think he said a lot there without saying a lot. Even though he said a lot, like I said, I think the Knicks are planning something big. That's why, again, when the caller was talking, saying the Knicks are in trouble, I don't see how the Knicks are in trouble. The Knicks are in great space. Again, I think people are so harped on to the media, and then I know Knicks fans are going to watch tomorrow with ESPN. You're going to have Max Kellerman and all these dudes clowning the Knicks. Ha ha! You lost to the Hawks, and now you only won one game. But what they won't tell you is that we had the lowest payroll in the league. They won't tell you that a lot of our team was made up of guys that are 25 and younger and on one-year deals. They won't mention that part. And they won't mention that they all predicted us to have like 25 wins. If I'm not mistaken, ESPN had us at 22. If I'm not mistaken, there was like 22
Something
wins.
Something like that.
Yeah, so again, they won't talk about that. They'll just, they'll make fun of the Knicks tomorrow. They'll say, we lost. We got mollywopped these last 3 games, and we only won one game, and Knicks fans were happy about one game. And even though the Knicks didn't say it, that we won at Brooklyn, they're going to do all that stuff. But again, I think this summer, Sim, I'm going to say it because I know you're going to have a free agency episode. I know you're going to have one of those. So I'm not. The Knicks are going to make a lot of noise, Sim. The Knicks are going to make a lot of noise all season.
They're going to be out there. I don't know if they're going to get the player through free agency.
Right.
I think it's probably going to be through trade that a player comes to the Knicks, because I just don't think there's a lot in free agency right now. So I think it'll be through trade or whatever it is. But like you're saying, yes, they're going to be active. Very active, I think. Very active. Let me get you a phone call here. Call you live. What's popping?
What's popping, man? How you doing today?
What's going with you, man? What's your name? Where you from?
Name's Ron. I'm from Orlando. Shout out to the chat. Disappointing season right now, man. Tough to live by. We talking about Rose. I hope we can get Rose back. He was one of the more competent point guards we've had in like a long time. So we're gonna miss out on that floater if he leaves. We're gonna miss out on that good decision making. His shot has improved. He has evolved into a point guard that you want to see on the floor running your squad. So if we don't get him in the off season, we in a little bit of trouble.
Okay, yeah, and I agree. He has changed his game. Just from a guy who was a high flying dunker, to someone who played below the rim and had to think the basketball game. He's been successful in doing so.
Yeah, we're gonna need that. And let me just say this right now: he should have been put in the starting lineup. I know a lot of people doubting. Everybody want to talk about how Tibbs shouldn't have did that. Tibbs should have done that. That needed to be done, because then it forces the ball out of Randall's hand. When Tibbs was putting Peyton in there every starting every game with Peyton, he forced Randall to have to do things that Randall can't do. Now, and it forced us to have to dig our way out of these deficits that were just not necessary. We don't need a second unit with that kind of firepower if we have a starting unit that's supposed to work. And Randall's not supposed to be that guy that's out here running the offense like that. He should be in the post. He should, if he wants to come out occasionally, get that jump shot going, get the jump shot going. But you can't have him standing around while your point guards dribble the ball, waiting for the ball to come to him. You can't have it.
Well, I mean, listen, my thing is this. If you were going to make that change, you should have made it during the regular season.
I agree.
That's 100%. My thing. If you're going to make that change, you should have did it during the regular season and, let it rock from then. To me, the playoffs was the wrong time to make the change, because now your entire team had to go through an adjustment and,
That's true, but let me ask you this. Would it have affected this series? Because if you look at this series, I mean, you could say Peyton only played 5, 6, 7 minutes. You could say that, but if we looked at what the Hawks did, you keep Peyton out there, we were going to run some serious deficits.
Well, I mean, everything is speculation because you don't know. The facts are the facts, and right now I'm going to give you straight facts. The 2 games that Peyton did play, we lost 1 by 2 points and we won 1 by 2 points. The times when he didn't step on the floor. And I'm not saying it's because Peyton was out there. It has more to do with the consistency and the rotations of the players. It has to do with that. But you look at the final 3 games, and we got blown out all by double digits. And to me, it all relates to the rotations. So I don't want anyone to get this wrong and think I'm trying to put Derrick Rose down or say Elfrid Payton is better than Derrick Rose. It relates to the rotations. That is the way that our team worked. And I'm going to point out one play tonight where Julius Randle looked like Julius Randle. One play. Derrick Rose found him in the mid-post. Julius Randle took a couple of dribbles. He spun backwards and shot a left-handed fadeaway jumper and made it.
Yep.
Right? One play. And as much as people hated the fact that Elfrid Payton always gave the ball to Julius Randle and got out the way, he gave him the ball in his comfort zone because that's what the Knicks had done all season long. Julius Randle had to find a new comfort zone in this series. And Derrick Rose hadn't worked, and they didn't have that time to develop that kind of continuity, in my opinion. So if you were going to do it, you should have did it sooner.
Done it months ago.
You should have did it 2 months ago.
I agree. And now I'm going to leave you with one more thing that we really got to start thinking about. Okay, because I love what Julius Randle did this season. But we now have to look at paying this man based on his performance this year. He's the most improved player. He's an all-star. And I don't mind paying him that man, but if you pay that man that kind of money, you are now telling him that his role is what his role is. Yeah. And if we think that we're going to get somebody to come in with more talent and not see the same results we just saw, we're in trouble. Because you can't put a guy with a whole lot of talent next to Randall and expect him to now just suddenly drop on a dime and be a guy that just, roams around and gets his buckets, out of the offensive flow.
Okay.
So we gotta look at that.
Fair point. I think you definitely have to. I think there's two things here. I think the Knicks should definitely pick up his option, and then look at a fair extension. And the way things went in the playoffs now, Julius Randle might look and say, yeah, I might take the, then it's going to be up to Julius Randle. He's going to be either betting on himself or he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to take this extension. You know what I mean? If he declines the extension, then he's betting on himself to have a monster season, perform in the playoffs next season, and then go out on the free agent market and really command a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
that's on him. He's got to do that, and he might have a monster season. Tibbs sets him up to have those monster seasons.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be interesting for next year.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be interesting for next year. But from the Knicks, I'm definitely picking up his option, and then I guess you got to see what it looks like when it comes time for an extension.
Yeah.
And the two will talk.
Good talking to you, Sam, man. Thanks a lot for talking to you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so can I say one thing before Steph go? Real quick, Steph.
Yes.
You want to know what makes me happy the most? After this year, we don't have to talk about Frank or Peyton no more.
I know. I'm with you on that.
I'm with you on that. Oh, yeah, Sam. I love Frank Ntilikina, but I'm so happy we don't have to talk about Frank or Peyton no more after this season.
Let me tell you something. There's gonna be 2 more other players. It's gonna be 2 more. You can guarantee that. There's gonna be 2 more. Watch. There's gonna be 2 more.
So I swear to God, sir, I'm gonna cut my bid if we have an argument about Theo Pinson and Jared Harper should be playing. I'm gonna lose my mind.
It's gonna be Kevin Knox and somebody else. That's what it's gonna be. It's going to be Kevin Knox or somebody else. Watch.
Well, listen, I think we all universally agree on Kevin Knox for the most part. But I swear to God, Sim, thank God Peyton and Frank is going to be gone because, Lord have mercy, I can't do it no more.
We'll see. You don't know. Frank might not be gone. You don't know. Frank might not be gone, man. I think with Elfrid Payton, it's just, at the end, it really turned bad.
It turned bad.
It turned
was
bad with the
man.
fans. You know, he wasn't
And then
playing
the
well. It
mother.
turned bad with the fans, his mom. So, you know, that right there is just not going to be a good mix. That's just not going to be a good mix. You got to move on. It's just not going to be a good mix. But Frank, I don't know. I'm not so sure. We'll see.
Sam, if Frank is here, I'm going to be tight. And it's not even about Frank's game. It's about this panel. I've never seen us spend so much time on a player who plays such few minutes as Frank and Alfred. So that's the only reason. I don't have a problem with Frank being on the team. I just feel like we spend too much time talking about him. And if he's not here, we can let that go and move on.
Right. We will see. We'll see how that works out, because the only reason why I say that is because let's say that the Knicks end up bringing in some players that they got to pay a lot of money. Now you got to try to fill some spots on the cheap. And to me, if you're going to fill spots on the cheap, you might as well fill it in with guys that can play some defense and maybe knock down a three. You
think he'll take a cheap contract? He might think he could get more elsewhere.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Frank might get the most on it, and this would be like his agent got to be God, $7 million.
Oh my God!
I can't see him getting close to 10. If he's getting 10, then he needs to marry his agent.
I don't see that.
But if we signed him on the cheap, what's on the cheap, son? I'm thinking on the cheap is 3.
Yeah, that's 3, 4, something like that. 2 years, or a year and an option, something like that. Like he did with some of the guys that this year.
Right.
You're getting them on the cheap and seeing what they can do, because let's just say Reggie Bullock does demand $9 million, and the Knicks decide, we got some other people that's lined up through trades, whatever it is. We're not going to pay Reggie Bullock $9 million. They might say, hey, we can get Frank to be a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Bullock is better than Frank, though, son.
He is. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I don't know, and I know some, because I don't. Again, we're not gonna talk about it because I know you're gonna have plenty of videos of who should stay, who should go, who should get paid this. I know we're gonna talk about this.
Oh yeah, year, keep him a dump him. Keep him a dump is coming back real hard this summer. Keep him a dump him. We got the draft to talk about. We got free agency to talk about. It's going to be a crazy summer of Knicks content, man.
Summer too, so that's great.
Summer.
We get back at it quick.
Compressed. Because if I'm not mistaken, ain't the draft next month?
Next month, July 29th, we're going to be in Atlantic City for a draft party. So you guys be on the lookout for that information coming out probably next week. So be on the lookout for that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be in Atlantic City. We're going to be lit. Yo, Sim, can we please just get just for old time's sakes, to get it out of everybody's system, when we do the keep them a double, can we just do the segment just for Frank and Peyton? Can we just do that? Because I'm not going to get you. That's going to be the whole show. So we might as well just do those two together, because that's going to be the whole show.
Right. That's true. Might as well do those two together. And
talking about polarizing, you're going to get the most views on that show right here.
Probably so. And neither one of those guys may not even be here, and we'll probably get the most views on that show right there. It's crazy.
Cause I'm not going to lie to them. I mean, mostly everybody else, I mean, it's going to be interesting because, Alex Burks and Bullock and all them guys, that's interesting. But those two, they are the Larry Bird of Magic Johnson of Knicks when it comes to topic.
Crazy.
Those two are funny, man. It's going to be hilarious about those
crazy.
And people are going to be serious. It's going to be hot. People are going to be heated during the fight.
I can't wait to hear Kid. He's a cornerstone. You get rid of Freak, we're not going to win a championship.
I'm coming on purpose. I am coming on and saying we need to keep Elfrid Payton as our starting point guard.
Oh my God.
People already calling you his pops.
Yeah, I know,
right? People calling his pops.
I know. Already. Big shout out to Afro Jedi. Thank you for the super chat. He said, I'm in that draft party. This is 5 cash towards that. That's a joke. But hey, just look out for Afro Jedi. Probably about next week.
Wait, the draft is in Atlantic City?
No, the draft is going to be where it normally is, but we're going to have the draft party in Atlantic City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
July 29th. Be ready for it, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, listen, man. Only Knicks fans can, after we get eliminated, laugh and you know, say, listen, man. I just want to say this because I'm probably gonna head out soon, but you know, man, I appreciate you, Sim. This whole year has been amazing. This is literally your first year doing the playoffs, so congratulations on another milestone, my friend. Listen, you know how it is. You've been doing this for a while. You brought the whole community together. You know, doing what you do best. You brought more people. We got a Queen's Court. We got Cooking with Sensei. We got the controversy. We got this and that, and you got it. You just got too much stuff. I don't know how the hell you do it, but we appreciate you, man. And you know, I got to give you applause, man. You did a great job this year, man. You did a great job.
Appreciate it, but we got a lot of work to do during the off season.
We're not done.
We got a lot of work to do during the off season. But I'm gonna listen to RJ. I'll get some last words, and then we're gonna get out of here. This is RJ Barrett and his post-game interview after the Knicks were eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is RJ Barrett.
RJ, how would you assess your own series?
I think for me personally, started out. Then I played the best, but I feel like I was able to figure it out. Along the way, I think after game 3, I kind of was able to get into a rhythm, feel it out a little bit. I think it was a good first experience, and definitely looking for many more.
Rebecca Harlow.
RJ, this team grew in so many ways. After you take a look back, and I know it's hard to reflect right now, but at all the work that this team has done, what are you most proud of in terms of the growth?
Well, I'm just proud of us laying a foundation. Laying a foundation for the future. Get the Knicks, back on the right track, and I'm 20. I'm hoping to be here for a very long time, hoping to win many more games, get to many more playoffs, get championships. I'm hoping for all that. And I think, this is a really good experience for us. It was a lot of our first time in the playoffs, and now we know what to expect. Now we know what to expect going into the summer, work hard and, come back hungry for more.
Ian Begley. Jonathan Macri.
Hey, RJ. I know it's kind of soon after everything's done, but can you try to process how different this season was from last year as a rookie, and can you put into words kind of what it was like to have this year as opposed to last year, which was obviously a little bit different?
A lot more winning. Winning was fun. Winning was always fun. It was a great team. We worked hard every single day. We came in and we really gave it our all. That's something, that I can say, and also why I don't, obviously I feel bad, but I'm okay with knowing that we gave everything we had. We fought to the end, to the last buzzer. And that's just who we are, and that's how New York is, and that's who we'll continue to be moving forward.
Mike Borkenhoff.
RJ, you were saying you're proud of kind of putting the foundation out for the franchise going forward. Do you think that you guys kind of changed the timeline for the organization from maybe from what it was in last summer to where it is now, and kind of the urgency going forward?
Of course. Last summer, we didn't have the best year last year, and then nobody, even with all the changes and everything we made, no one believed in us still, and we put the league on notice that we really are here. We're a playoff team. This is what we do, we grind, we work hard, and hopefully we continue to build on that moving forward.
Thank you, RJ.
Right.
All right. That's RJ Barrett, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to be a lot more that comes out over the next couple of days as far as, the Knicks exit interviews and all that kind of stuff. Stay tuned because we're going to start focusing on the draft and free agency and a lot of those type of things, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do Keep 'em or Dump 'em. We got a lot of things lined up from now to take us all the way until the season begins, next off season. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to focus on. The first thing we're going to start looking at is Keep 'em or Dump 'em. And then we're going to move into the draft. So, just stay with it, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with it. Steph, any last words before we get out of here?
It was a great season for the Knicks. It was, and for me as a fan, it was a lot of fun. It was also a lot of fun to just kind of watch the Knicks grow with you guys for the first time, having somebody I could talk Knicks with. And they don't get tired of talking. I'm talking to my family. They don't want to hear it. My friends, they want to you talking too much. But to be on this panel with you guys who are talking it just as much, this was probably the most fun I had watching a Knicks season. And you guys made it special as well. Shout out to you, Sim, for allowing me to be on the panel, asking me to host Queen's Court, which we will be back Friday. Looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to what the Knicks are going to do, man. I think we're going to be a really good team going forward. I think we turned a corner. I would say that every team needs some sort of seasoning. So I don't know if we should just dismantle this team and start over from scratch just with like a few players from this team. I think we need to identify who our core is. I wouldn't change that much. I would add to it. And again, every team that's an eventual championship contender goes through their lumps and their bumps. And this was ours.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Isaiah?
Man, Sim, again, what a season, man. What a season that we had. We talked to some amazing people. Me and you argued as usual, but I love every second of it. I gave you and Guillermo, I gave Guillermo his flowers earlier, during the stream or during his stream and your stream, man. You guys both did amazing jobs. Again, Sim, hands down, I don't care what nobody says. People can call me a homer. You got the best Knicks content on all of YouTube, all the internet. I said what I said. You know how that goes. You the best, bro. You know what I'm saying? And this is only going to get better, man. This is the first year, but this ain't the last year. And listen, we got the Queen Force coming, cooking with Sergey. In the summertime, we're going to be doing, I know we talked about doing some stuff, so that's going to be, I'm excited for what we're going to be doing during the summer. I'm not going to reveal it, but it's going to be real exciting. It's going to be really dope.
He's not going to reveal it because he doesn't know yet. That's why he's not going to reveal it, because he doesn't know yet.
I don't know, but I do know, but I don't, if that makes sense. That's all right. Only the real ones will catch that. But man, Sim, again, man, this has been a great Knicks season, man. This has been the best Knicks season since I was in high school. And it's almost been 10 years since I've been out of high school. So I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you and Guillermo. I'm proud of everybody. I'm proud of Steph and then, doing what she does with the Queen Court, Josh, everybody, man. It's only going to get better. This summer's going to be great. And I'm telling you, Sim, I cannot wait for that breaking news that we all get on our phones and you come on here to talk about it.
It's going to be crazy.
I got a strong feeling, Sim. It's going to be crazy, that news. I don't know what it is. I don't think none of us know what it is, but it's going to be...
Damian Lillard.
Yo. She said, don't do that because I'm scared you actually might know. And I don't want to do that. But we're going to see. But it's gonna be crazy, Sam. But we're
gonna have a show at 2:00 in the morning at that break.
Yeah, because you know how they always be coming out like it be coming like some weird. Because I will never forget. I think we were doing. Yes, we were. We were doing the front stoop when Paul George got traded. It was like 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah, something crazy.
And Paul George got traded like 1:00. And we was like, wait, what? This just happened. So you really might do an emergency. You might do an emergency. But We're going to talk about it because I got a feeling who I think I know who it is, but we'll talk about that in a later episode. But let's go, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
We out of here, ladies and gentlemen. And big shout out to Afro Jedi. He asked the question. Thank you for the super chat. He said, if we have Mitch, does the series go 7? I think so. I think Mitch changes a lot in just the way that we play. Mitch by himself just out there is another 7-8 rebounds a game, and half of them are offensive rebounds. And his ability to catch those alley-oops, I think, changes the way that we play. It just gives us that another option that we just didn't have out there. We had nobody to collapse the defense, and that alley-oop, I think, helps to collapse the defense and open some things up for Randall. So I think it definitely changes this series. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, again, be on the lookout and just because this is over, we'll be jumping right in tomorrow, the next day, so on and so forth with content. So we're not done. We got a lot. We're not done at all. But be on the lookout for information coming out with the draft party for July 29th and then the NBK family reunion in September. All that information will be coming out real soon. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. Be easy. Rest peacefully tonight. And
I was about to say, I ain't dying.
rest peacefully tonight. And I'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.